It's time for maths with Mr. Seakens. It's time for maths with Mr. Seakens. It's time for maths with Mr. Seakens. Mr. Seakens. Hi everybody, it's time for maths lesson 2 with me, Mr. Seakens. So today's Walt, as you may have seen already, is to convert between units of time, and we're going to look at different ways that we do that. First things first, it's time for a quick recap of yesterday's lesson. How many seconds are there in a minute? That's right, it's 60. How many minutes are there in an hour? That's right, it's 60. But how many hours are there in a day? Yes, 24. A day, incidentally, is the time it takes for the Earth to rotate once on its axis. Quick question, are all days the same on all the planets? How many minutes in 2 hours? How many minutes in 5 hours? 5 times 60. How many minutes in 10 hours? How many hours is 67 minutes? How many hours is 125 minutes? How many days in a week? How many hours in a week? Hang on, that's quite tricky, that one. So if you wanted to do hours in a week, you know there's 24 hours in one day, and a week is 7 days, so 24 times 7. So let's partition that, 20 times 7. Firstly, we know 2 times 7 is 14, so 20 times 7 will be 140, and then 4 times 7 is 28, so 140 plus 28, 168 hours in a week. That's good knowledge. Alright, here we go. Recap's over. It's time to get into the lesson. So our Walt for today is converting between units of time. So that means things like seconds, minutes, hours, days, weeks, months, years, etc, etc, etc. First question. What's the most important date to you? Have a think for 5 seconds. Put your hand up if you just thought of your birthday. Do you know any important dates from history? I'm thinking of one particular date. The 21st of July, 1969. Something very, very important happened on that day. We've discussed it in class. I wonder if you can remember what it was. Put your answers in the comments. Bonus football question. Something possibly even more important than the last thing happened on the 25th of April 2004. I'll be very impressed if you get that one. Today's date is Wednesday, the 22nd of April. I had to check that. How else could we write that date? Yes, we could write it as Wednesday, the 22nd of April. We could also write it as 22/4/20, couldn't we? The 22, meaning the 22nd day, the 4, fourth month, which is April, January, February, March, April, and 2020, in case you hadn't noticed, is this year. Important note, if you're looking at dates written in America, be careful, because in the US, when they're writing the short date, they actually put the month first, and then the day, and then the year. So for example, if we were writing the Wednesday the 22nd of April in the UK, it would go 22/4/20. But in the US, it would go 4/22/20. April 22nd, 2020. Watch out for that, it's an important difference. Recapping the units of time. 1 day is 24 hours. 1 week is 7 days. 1 fortnight... Fortnight? 1 fortnight is 2 weeks. 1 month. Now this is where things get tricky. 1 month could be as short as 28 days if it's a normal February, or it could go anywhere up to 31 days if it's one of the longer months. That's another story for another time. 1 year is of course 12 months, but you could also say 1 year is 52 weeks, so keep those things in mind. They might come in handy at some point. Okay, well that's the input part over, and it's time to switch over to our problems, and I've got a feeling somebody has messed up. Okay, here we are with problem number 1, and I think I spy a misconception. Well, let's try and use converting between units of time to solve this, shall we? Number 1. Claudia trains for 3 hours every day. I'm guessing Claudia is an athlete of some kind. Claudia trains for 3 hours every day, 6 days a week. What is her total time spent training in 4 weeks? Right, let's look at the words there really, really clearly. So Claudia, some kind of person who's doing training. She trains for 3 hours every day, so that's important. I'm going to underline that. 3 hours every day. 6 days per week, or 6 days a week. Now this is important. 6 days per week. I want to have a quick chat about the word per. Now whenever you see per, if I said there were 6 eggs per packet, now per is another word for times. If I said 6 days per week, and I had 3 weeks, for example, I'd do 6 times 3. So we've got to look out for that later on. So what is her total time spent training in 4 weeks? The person here has seen the numbers, they've put 3 plus 6 plus 4. Now have a quick think. What do you reckon to that? Do you agree with this person? Or do you think something has gone crazy wrong here? Well, exactly. Something has gone crazy, crazy wrong here. It is certainly not 3 plus 6 plus 4. Let's have a quick look at how to do this properly, shall we? Now to do it, we can draw a diagram to help us. 3 hours every day, 6 days per week, and then 4 weeks. So let's quickly draw 3 hours. So 3 hours, let's say it looks like this. 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. And then 6 days per week. So that's 3 hours per day and 6 days per week. So we need to make 6 of these rows of 3 boxes. So here we go. So we had 3 hours times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days. 6 days. So that means in a week, in 1 week, she does 3 times 6 hours worth of training. We can do this because we know our times tables. Most of you got it in your head already, but 3 times 6 equals, yes, 18 hours in how many weeks? Yes, just 1 in 1 week. It's very important to remember. So there we go, and then on the 7th day, I guess she has a bit of a rest. But then it says, what is her total time spent training in 4 weeks? So we know what it is for 1 week. So 1 week equals 18 hours. But 4 weeks, what have we done to 1 to get 4? We've multiplied it by 4, haven't we? So if we've multiplied this side by 4, we also want to multiply this side by 4. So this is 18 times 4. Now some of you might have a very quick mental strategy for doing this. We're going to do it mentally first, and then we're going to look at the column method or even partitioning. to do this. There's lots of ways to multiply. So firstly, I know that 10 times 4 is 40, so I keep that in my head, and 8 times 4 is 32. So 40 plus 30 plus 2. So that's going to be 72, isn't it? Because 40 plus 30 is 70, add another 2 is 72. But let's show that in a couple of other ways. Let's do partitioning, which you just did mentally, but there we go. 10 times 4 is 40, and 8 times 4 is 32. Add them together, 72. And just for amusement's sake, because I know you love it really, let's do the formal multiplication method. So that's going to be 18 times 4. I know some of you prefer to do things this way. That's absolutely fine. 8 times 4 is 32. So I write the 2 and I add the 3 later. 1 times 4 is 4, add 3 is 7. So guess what? We get the same answer. Alright, so the answer to this question is not 13 hours. You don't just add. You've got to think about the right calculation to do. So here we go. The answer is 72 hours. Don't forget to put your unit down, because if somebody thinks you're writing minutes, they're not the same thing. Wow. Well, that was problem number 1. Let's look at another one. It's a little bit different. Okay, it's time for the real life bonus question. This one's going to help me figure out what I've been doing with my life for the last 5 weeks, which is a pretty good question. Anyway, real life bonus question. Let's read it all together. Mr. Seakens has done a highly unexpected Joe Wicks workout 6 days a week for the last 5 weeks. Each workout lasts 21 minutes on average. How much time have I spent training? So I tried to work it out, but I'm not sure how I did. Let's have a look. So firstly I wrote 6 times 5 is 30 minutes, and 30 add 21 minutes is 51 minutes. Have a quick think about that. Yeah, sorry Mr. Seakens, you got this all kinds of wrong. Let's take a little look at the right way to tackle this question. It's quite similar to the last one, but we've got to be careful and read through to make sure we've got the right information. Mr. Seakens has done a highly unexpected Joe Wicks workout 6 days a week. So let's highlight those numbers, they're important. 6 days a week. Not 7, not 5, but 6. For the last 5 weeks. So it's 5 weeks, so that's important. We know there's going to be some multiplying going on there. Each workout lasts 21 minutes. How much time have I spent training? So we need to put that down as well. So there are important numbers. Okay, if we want to, we could draw a diagram for the amount of days a week and the 5 weeks. And we just multiply that by the 21, and that will give us the amount of minutes, won't it? I mean, we can probably do it without a diagram. Let's look at the actual way to do this, because I think this is crazy. So 6 days a week for 5 weeks. So 6 days a week times 5 weeks gives us 30. But it doesn't give us 30 minutes, does it? That was wrong, the person. Because that gives us how many days I trained for. And then, if each workout lasts 21 minutes, we need to do 30 times those 21 minutes. So let's write that down. 30 days times 21 minutes. Now, slightly trickier calculation this one for some. We could do it in our heads first, and then we'll try it the written down way. So firstly, forget 30, let's just think about 3. And we'll do it times by 10 later on. So 3 times 21. Let's think 3 times 20 is 20, 40, 60. And 3 times 1 is 3, which gives us 63. but then we need to times it by 10, which gives us 630, doesn't it? So it should be 630 minutes. But let's do the written way to double check. All right, we can do it partitioning. We can do 3 times 21 equals 63, and then 63, so therefore 30 times 21 will be 63 times 10, which is 630. Boom. Or we can do it in the formal written method, which is always good to practice. So let's write that down somewhere over here, shall we? So let's do 30 times 21. Draw a line underneath, and we're going to do 30 times 1 first. So 0 times 1 is 0, 3 times 1 is 3. But now we're doing by the tens, of course, we need to write a 0 here because everything's 10 times bigger. 0 times 2 is 0, and 3 times 2 is 6. And guess what? Add them up at the end. 0 plus 0 is, of course, 0, 3 plus 0, 3, and then 6 plus nothing. Boom. So the answer is 630 minutes. But to make life easy for us, because 630 minutes doesn't mean much to many people, so we want to put it into hours and minutes. Let's have a look at how that works. So let's convert minutes to hours. Right. 630 minutes. Now, hopefully from yesterday you remember the way we do this. We count up in 60s until we get as close as we can. And then whatever's left over, that's the minutes that's left. So let's write down our 60 times table. It's the same as the 6 times table with a 0 at the end. So, 60. Oops, sorry, I just realised you couldn't probably see the last little bit. Don't worry about that. 60, 120 is 2 hours, 180, 3 hours, 240, 4 hours, 300 is 5 hours. Some of you may have already noticed a link. 300, double it, is 600, but we can do that a bit later. 300 is 5 hours, 360 is 6 hours. Then what? 7 hours, 420. And then 8 hours, 480. 9 hours, 540. 10 hours, 600. 11 hours would be 660 minutes, wouldn't it? So we know that 630, the closest we can get, is to 10. So we know it's going to be 10 hours. And 600 plus what is 630? It's an easy one, this. Nothing's a 30. 30 minutes. So the answer to the question, how many hours have I trained for in the last 5 weeks, doing my Joe Wicks workout every morning? Turns out it's 10 hours and 30 minutes. Well now. Well, that wasn't so hard, was it, everyone? I hope that's helped you a little bit with how to solve those kind of problems. You now have some tasks that you have been emailed to complete. Best of luck with it. Make sure you put those answers in the comments and have a good day. That's it. Bye.
You just learned maths with Mr. Seakens. You just learned maths with Mr. Seakens. You just learned maths with Mr. Seakens. Mr. Seakens.